Hello, everyone. I want to go over the first exam for this class. I don't have it called up because I typed it and photocopied it. It's just an old fashioned habit that I have, so I'll just type out the questions as I go along. Number one, why were the first man and woman punished by God? Well, they ate of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That is the answer. Um, should be specific. That is not that they disobeyed God. I mean, she gets specific there. And what were their punishments? Essentially, I guess the punishments were that they were banished, but banished from the Garden of Eden. But the punishment of the man was essentially that he would have to work for his living. And the punishments of the woman were basically that she would bear children in pain, and yet her desire would be for her husband, and he would rule over her. So that's what I was looking for there, more or less something in that neighborhood. Number two, how does Thrasymachus define justice in the Republic? The answer to that is the advantage or interest of the stronger. That's it. That's how he. That's how he defines it. That's all you need to do. That is his definition of justice. The interest of the strong or the advantage of the strong. You don't even. Question does not require any kind of explanation. Actually. Number three, what are Thrasymachus's reasons for thinking that injustice is more profitable than justice? Because the just person is restrained by their scruples. Uh, they are restrained by their sense of justice. That they can't do anything, they have to be just. So this oftentimes means that they forego doing things that are in their selfish interest. And the unjust person is restrained by no such scruple. So the unjust person is freer to get what they want out of life. That seems to be the general thinking of Thrasymachus. Number four, what are the elements that make up the parts of the soul in Socrates' image in the Republic? The parts of the soul are the multi-headed beast, the lion, and the human being or man. Those are the three parts of the soul. How does he say that they are to be ordered? Important thing is that the human being or man within us should be in charge. That's the main point. And you could go on to explain that the different parts of the soul represent rationality and desire, and he thinks that the rational part should be in control. But basic answer to the question is he says that the man or the human being inside of us should be the one that's dominant and should be the one in control. Number five, what did Aristotle mean when he said that man is by nature a political animal? Nothing came up. Let me try that again. What did Aristotle mean when he said that man is by nature a political animal? He meant that human beings, man, the fullest sense of humanity, was meant to live in the polis, in the political community. therefore, that the polis is natural. That's natural for us to live in political communities. That is, communities are governed by common laws, common customs, and traditions. That the polis is just as natural as the village, which is just as natural as the family, which is just as natural as the fundamental relationship he sees between man and woman. So it's natural for us to live in political communities, I think is what he meant by that. Certainly the tack that I took when we were reading it. Number 6, what reasons did Aristotle give when he attempted to justify slavery? I'd say that the attempted thing was on purpose there, because I think most of us would say that he failed miserably in trying to justify slavery. And I think it's important to see his argument, however weak it is. And I think it is a weak argument, because it's essentially that some people were born to be slaves and some people are born to be masters. And then more generally, that some people are worse than others and the better should rule over the worse. And it's good for both of them. That there's something like natural slavery. Not all slavery is natural, because not all people are slaves by nature. And if they become enslaved, it's a tragedy for all concerned. But maybe not for the slave master. I mean, they get what they want, right? But it's not justified. But if it's the better ruling over the worse, Aristotle says, and the better would be the more rational, the person who had more of a command of reason, then it's natural for Aristotle. I think it's a terrible argument, but it is an argument, right? And I think it's important to see this is what he thought, however wrong it was. It was certainly wrong. Of course, it was wrong. Then finally, number 7, I asked for a more expansive answer. Explain how the general thesis that it is right for the better to rule over the worse runs through the reading so far. I was thinking about that thesis. So it's a very, general, influential thesis, and thinking of the ancient world, probably thinking of the medieval world too, that the better should rule over the worse. It's begging the question, right? That is, it's assuming that we can even tell who the better is. Obviously, there's all sorts of faults in it, but I think it's an important thesis to recognize as a force in human history, human thinking about how social relationships should be ordered. I really wasn't thinking of the Bible. It didn't really apply to the Bible. Oh, maybe it did, yes. The part that I was thinking of, and this is just, was when God says that to Eve that your husband shall rule over you. He doesn't come out and say your husband is better than you. He certainly doesn't say that, but he does say you should rule over you, and it's implied that there's some justification for that. I don't know, but I was thinking of that. And I was especially thinking of Plato's vision of the soul, where the better part of the soul should rule over the rest of it. And I was thinking of what I just said about Aristotle's justification for slavery, which is clearly an attempt to apply that principle to human social affairs, human relationships. Again, I think it fails. There's no doubt that it fails, but I think it's worth reading. So that's what I had in mind for the first exam. I'll send out another video when everyone has taken the second exam, which they haven't yet, but I'll send out another video at that time doing the same thing. The idea is that you watch this video. If you have questions, any questions after watching this video, if you'd like any more clarification or would like to discuss your exam in particular with me, please contact me and we'll set up a time where we can go over your exam in detail and hopefully can answer any questions you may have.